from the atmospheric seam group.
Thank you. Now I'm going to tell you about the telltale wind indicator that is mounted on top of the meteorological mast on Phoenix. And there is an animation to show that. Now the telltale consists of a lightweight tube hanging in a string, and it moves due to the wind. And from images taken of the instrument, we can both read the wind speed and the wind direction. Now I have here with me a model of this instrument, and as you may see, this is a very sensitive instrument to measure wind. It's blowing quite around here in the air condition. Now, but this is what we need on Mars. The atmosphere, or the atmospheric pressure, is only 1% or less than 1% of what we are used to on Earth. So there are not so many air molecules to move things around. And this is from the movement, though we have seen wind speeds in the range from 7 to 20 kilometers or 20 miles per hour, the movement of the telltale is very subtle. And this is about the same movement I can generate here by moving this instrument slowly in our atmosphere. Now, if I was sitting on Mars in a stormy situation, now the force from the wind, that would be approximately the same as I'm feeling on back on my hand by moving it down here. Now, even though we are in the start phase of the mission, we have already started to see some daily pattern. In the beginning of the days, we see the wind coming from the south. It then rotates during the day all 180 degrees to the north during midday, and back down to south in the afternoon. Now this is very important because this is information we can use to help us in our digging strategy, not to contaminate samples by moving or blowing dust over them. And in the next parts of the mission, we are looking very much forward to those, because we will see the onset of the polar winter and expect to see global changes. What is going to happen is that much large part of the atmosphere is going to rain down on the northern pole and evaporate from the southern pole, and we will be watching for this movement of air mass in the last part of the mission. And with that, I give it back to Sarah.
Thanks very much, panel. Let's start with questions here in Tucson in the theater. Please wait for the microphone. State your name and your organization. Sally, up here in the front.
Good morning. Sally Rail, representing the Planetary Society. I've got two questions. One for Peter. You mentioned Spirit's discovery of near pure silica at Gusev Crater on Mars. Why do you think this is not silica? Can you just expound on that a little bit more, please?
Well, remember, Spirit was nearby a feature that looked to be volcanic, and so silica near a volcanic feature would be not too surprising. But we do not see that kind of landform where we are here, so I'd be very surprised to find silica in this location. I think more likely it's some sort of salt, or it could be the ice layer that we're looking for. I would be extremely surprised to find silica. It doesn't form in this kind of location. Are
you feeling any less like it's ice than you were a few days ago, or
no?
Is that shaking out at all?
It's not so much how I feel about it. It's more, can we get one of those samples and get it in our instrument? And that's, I think, the task of the next few days, and find out for sure what it is. My feelings about it really don't matter too much.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Craig, right behind you.
Hi, Craig Cavalt with Aviation Week. Just following out on that point, Peter, what would be the strategy relative to sampling Snow Queen versus going out and sampling a trench for the ice?
Well, it'd be wonderful to sample Snow Queen because there it is all laid bare for us, and we could choose a spot and go. However, it's underneath the lander, and the robotic arm really doesn't have the capability to sample under the lander, and our dig area, as Carol showed, is fairly well defined to be within a certain kind of wedge shape out in front of the lander. And maybe Ashte wants to say more about that.
Yeah, I think it would be extremely challenging to to actually try to acquire sample on Snow Queen. I think the configuration of the northeast footpad that wouldn't allow the robotic arm to get any close to it. Even trying to image it with the robotic camera, the closest we've been able to get to it is 75 cm. And we're trying to see if we can get a little bit closer, and I know Uwe wants to get some color images of it, but I think it's close to impossible.
Leo, up here in the front.
Thanks. I have a couple of questions for Uwe about the Snow Queen and also its relationship with the white material that you've already excavated. You talked about it having a characteristic ledge. Does that mean something, or are you just saying that the ledge is noticeable?
To show a layering.
Does that say more likely ice than salt, or does it say anything to you?
This is, I mean, again, this is very difficult to say. I mean, I wouldn't know one or the other. But what it says, it's produced in different events. There's a layer on top of another layer.
Okay, and the other question I had was to do with the the trenching that you've done. The white pieces appear to be 4 or 5 centimeters below the surface. But is this material that's mixed in with the regolith, or, well, the soil, I won't say regolith, the soil, or are you digging into this layer?
I think to my mind at least, the astonishing thing is that the regolith seems to be rather loose on top of this white material we see on the white table, if you want to, which is all under the lander, where Snow Queen is part, and so it probably extends also in the area where we dig. And I think astonishing is that the material on top of the slab could be easily blown away during the landing. So it's relatively loose cover on top of this slab.
And one last follow-up.
Sure.
Why don't you settle this with the TCP? Can you not just dip onto one of the rocks and ask it?
We will do this. I think this is, look, we are still in the characterization phase of where we have to do certain duties in a certain program before we really start to do answering the scientific questions in detail. And I think that's in the upcoming dates to use it.